Welcome to Real People, Real Voices. I'm your host, James Jackson.
Co-host Dr. Wayne Moore.
Always a pleasure to host
It is,
you.
my friend. It's always good to be in your presence.
And I have a great show today, huh?
Yeah, we're going to have a great show today. You know what? We always have great shows. And if you don't know it, you're going to know it today.
Yeah.
And we're so happy to be here. Tell us about our sponsors.
Lee Castle and Crawley. If you need help, they can help you. Fervent Care Child Care and Christian Academy. Convenient, clean, caring child care. Give them a call. And also the Marion County Public Health Department. We are excited about our sponsors. And those of you who might want to sponsor, give TV40 a call as well. Also go to YouTube and type in WHMB TV40 and subscribe. And you can like us.
On Facebook.
On Facebook.
We're there. We're hanging out. Come hang out with us.
We got a few friends on there.
I got one or two myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a great show today and some wonderful information that we believe you can use. We have the founder and CEO of Goal Consulting LLC that's going to be joining us here momentarily.
She's a major lady.
She is a major lady, talking about some of the things that you can do to help augment your business offering. So stick around.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. We're glad that you've joined us, and we're joined now by Ms. Katrina Owens.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Happy to have you, Miss Owens.
And tell us about Goal Consulting.
Goal Consulting. Well, Goal Consulting was really, honestly, just birthed because I had a loss in my life, a personal loss in my life, and so I prayed about it and how I moved forward, and this was shown to me. So I created Goal Consulting to honor my father, and then to honor his legacy and all his hard work and some of the funds that he left behind, some of the seed he left behind. I created my own business.
Through inheritance.
Yes.
Well, I like that.
That's good. I like that.
Because, you know, it kind of speaks to generally every generation has to start over. Mm-hmm. And through that unfortunate loss, you were able to not have to necessarily start over, but to continue something.
Tell us, in conjunction with Pastor Jackson's statement, tell us some of your background that led you to this. Maybe you could.
Okay.
Does that put you in a place where
sure.
you can help us?
Sure. Yes, sir. Some of my background, well, I have over 7 years of working in higher ed, higher education, and then 3 years of workforce development. Mm-hmm. And so between the two, put them together and created this. So I had a lot of leadership positions as well. So I learned some skill sets, right? Gained some knowledge, a vast network, a lot of partnerships along the way. And so when I started my own, many came with me. I'm still in the same network. I'm still connected at Ivy Tech. I still teach adjunct classes for them. I'm still in workforce development. So the industry focus point of the target industries are workforce development and education in terms of my business.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, sound like you're on point.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
So certainly there are always different things that businesses focus in on. So talk to us about the top 3 things that you're working on right now.
The top 3 things that I'm working on, well, we have contracts, so let's be clear. I'm working on keeping my word on that dotted line.
So you can renew the contract.
Right? That's the most important thing, okay?
Yeah. What about work? What about barriers in the workplace? You talk about. That's one thing that you are keyed in on, isn't it?
Barriers in the workplace. I'm gonna be
Programs
honest.
that can help remove barriers to employment.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of programs across the community that people aren't aware of that can help them remove barriers. So there are barrier busting funds. That's what they're called. They're funding to remove people's barriers, right? That keep you from getting a better job or moving towards a career or keeping you from returning to school, right? They are simply called barrier buster funds, right? because these things exist and are tied to programming, this is what people can use to better themselves, to thrive, and to obtain lifelong sustainability. But you have to know that they exist, right? And once you know that they're there, then access them, because they're free resources.
So we start talking about a life and a self plan. Is this something that you can help people develop?
Absolutely. I had partnered with the Rock Initiative. I'm a partner of the Rock Initiative through Eastern Star to help individuals develop a life skills advancement plan. So not just life skills, we all have skills in life, right? But how do you advance using your skill set? Many people don't take the time to develop a plan. So when we talk about planning, like the saying is, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail, right? You have to create a plan. And it's okay. It starts with self-assessment, kind of assessing your own skill sets, not just what you think you're good at, but what are you good at? Assessing what your purpose in life is. What is your purpose, right? Creating a vision board or a dream board. Oprah herself had a vision board, you know what I mean? And taking steps to get there, right? Celebrating every win. There's short-term goals, but there's going to be some long-term goals. But every win should be celebrated, right? And so that's a part of developing a life skills advancement plan, a plan that includes your skill sets, helps you find your purpose. If it's education, what does that look like? What does that path look like for you? Career-wise and advancement. And why all that matters is because when you're winning in your house, I mean, everybody in your household is winning if you are, right? Then you in turn go back and you can impact your community, right? And so I have personally, Go Consulting, we have done some sponsorships. We have supported people along the way. This is what it's about. If I'm winning, we're all winning, right? I have staff. I have hired consultants on contract myself, right? So it's just not me. I have about 8 people that's eating off this. You know what I mean?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is what it's about, right?
Pretty big table you got there.
Right. Well, step up, reach back. And if we all did that, can you imagine what our community would look like? Where we would be? Right? And if someone took the time to say, hey, you just simply need to create a plan. What is your plan for advancement?
Long-term or short-term?
Right. Absolutely.
So what's the process look like? And is this for organizations or is this also for individuals?
In the last year, I've done individuals. A lot of my partnerships are through organizations because they tend to have a target population or they already have the pipeline, per se, right? So it's been easier. I always say work smarter, not harder. It's easier to partner with an organization that already has a created pipeline, right? I am one person, right? However, I do have people to help me. But individually, sometimes it can be a little more time consuming and I don't feel like it can help as many. So a lot of times, all my work has been partnering with organizations. In return, then there's individuals that then help those, right? However, if a person says, hey, I need a plan right now, today, can you talk to me? Because I don't know where I'm going tomorrow. You know what? I'm going to take the time to help that person, right? But I can't say I can help 1,000 people to come line up to me. But I will help an individual, but preferably partnering with organizations so we can then establish programming around that to service the pipeline that they already have.
And you say that one of the biggest challenges people have is with planning. Second to that, in your opinion, what is one of the biggest reasons why organizations and people are not able to succeed?
That they're not able to succeed.
Certainly planning is big.
Yeah, planning is big, but
You got to be committed to that plan, don't you think?
well, you definitely have to be committed to the plan. But I'm gonna say, a lot of times is the implementation of your plan.
Yeah, our city
Right.
seems to be having a problem with that.
So oftentimes we have these conversations at the round table and we come up with these bright ideas, right? And one of the things that we do at Goal Consulting as well is not creating the strategic plan, but helping you integrate that in your system, right? Because they're two different things. We can create a plan all day long, but then two, how do you integrate it into your life? How do you apply it? How do you lift it off the ground? How do you move it forward? How do you move people? And so that has been what I've seen, has where the gaps are and where people become unsuccessful. Planning is important. We got to do that first.
Yeah.
But we also got to look at how do I integrate this plan? How do I activate this plan?
And implement this.
Yeah, absolutely, and move it forward, right? And make sure that there's practical things in there, realistic things in there,
Right.
that we can make this happen, right? So that's what I would say.
That's good. That's good. Those are two of the biggest ones, and I'm right there with you on that. You've been a great guest. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it. And you have been a good audience. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices, and we're joined by Mr. Tariq Al-Nasir. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Coach.
And we're really excited about what you're doing with STEM education and STEMnasium Learning Academy.
Yes.
So what precipitated that particular name?
Right. So, the earlier versions of what it was that I was doing, which was, attempting to impact the lives of young people. And I define young people as early as 3 years old. I wanted two things, something that everybody could identify with. And so I knew very early on that everybody could identify with a gym. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't call it gymnasium because that was already taken. And so I thought about what it was that I had, and then my area, my bailiwick was in engineering. And, candidly, STEM was becoming the buzzword back in the early 80s and 90s. And so I added STEM to gymnasium and just coined it STEMnasium.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty clever.
Yeah, it is.
And you all are in the business of changing the trajectory of the lives of underprivileged children. How are you doing that?
Yeah, so I think it's important for me to just kind of underscore my story. The lives that we are changing at STEMnasium is similar to my life being changed. So my journey, the story of STEMnasium really started with my personal journey. 8th grade student, gifted and talented, inner city New York, a lot of brothers and sisters, project, single mother, and was given the opportunity to go to a very privileged high school in Manhattan. But my career in high school stopped and started in the 9th grade. I got kicked out of school for hacking into computers. And, that was the beginning of the end. And so what I like to think of is that had a program like STEMnasium been in place, potentially I would have been a student that would have fallen into the catch net and been put on a different trajectory. And so what we really mean by changing those lives are just giving kids an opportunity to self-identify with the things that they use every day. We've seen that we put cell phones and iPads and all these different technology devices in the hands of very young people, and they start doing all these incredible things. But we stop short, in my opinion, of really preparing them to become what I define, or what we define as power users. And that's someone who's looking at that technology and reimagining it in a way that it not currently is. And that's how we end up with new inventions like a Dropbox, for example, or like a Doodle, for example, or like a Snapchat, for example. And so by showing kids in communities that are underserved and underrepresented to not just be users of technology, but to understand that technology in a way that puts them in a position to really own it, is one way how we change the trajectory. We don't have to imagine that kids look on TV and they want to be athletes. They want to be entertainers because that's what they see. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what about the other side to those things? And so, we start with those very fundamental ideas of just accepting kids where they are, and then putting them in front of things, or really creating the pathway that puts them in front of things connected to STEM where they can self-identify.
And why is it so important to start so early, 3 years old?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of talk about, of course, in the Montessori way of doing things, you let kids kind of experience things. STEM seems to be a little more intense. Maybe you have to pay attention more, or is there a difference? Why start so early?
I think one of the things that you get when you start early is STEM is a language. And so starting early increases your chances to become successfully fluent at anything. So, for example, if I desire for my son or daughter to become a piano player, well, I don't wait till they're 16 to put them in front of a piano. I start as early as I can. And so at Gymnasium, what we understand fundamentally is we have to start as soon as kids start understanding the ask. We have to put in front of them the give. And the give, it turns into, the translation for that is students who start early with these things become successfully, exponentially fluent at what it is that we're preparing them for, and then their trajectory of being able to, and of course we support this intentionally, of being able to give back and connect to their community is one way how we do that. But starting early with everything, there's tons of research that suggests what the outcome looks like when you start very early. Similar to a kid walking, we don't wait till a kid is like 4. As soon as they start looking like they want to walk, we start telling them, come on, you need to start walking. You know, for a number of different reasons. Maybe the baby's too heavy.
Yeah.
We don't want to carry the baby anymore. But we start early with everything else, except for the thing that as a country we are behind in, and that's science, technology, engineering, and math.
Right. How many students have participating?
So in any given program, we take 40 students in any particular program. And so how that works is, so we're not our own school, but we partner with schools and school districts. And so right now we partner with a school called Riverside, School 44, Global Prep Academy at School Riverside 44. And so in that instance, we're taking 40 students for a Saturday program. But the program lives inside of that school I just mentioned as a full immersion program. So all 680 kids get this program.
Experience it.
Right, from pre-K to, pre-K to 6th grade. So all of those students will experience the program. But it's no different if we partner with a high school. Every kid in the high school would experience a class called Gymnasium.
Wow.
That's phenomenal.
And tell us about, in the time we have left here, this garment that you have on. Looks like a lab coat,
Right.
Coach T's on there, and you got some other things on here.
Yeah, so we chose the name coach because everybody can identify with a coach. Athletes, professional people, they all have coaches, right? And so the coach is the one who's looking at the mechanics of what it is that you're doing and can thereby suggest better ways to help you improve that. And so the lab jacket is part of identity. What we want is for kids to self-identify, but what we really want them is to see themselves. And so we start with things like, when I look in the mirror, what do I see? A brilliant mind looking back at me. Well, what does that really mean? This is what it means. And so when kids start to see themselves in you, an older person, a brother, a sister, however they identify with, that potentially supports their self-identity in STEM. And so this jacket that I'm wearing has a few things. So on the left side, and all the jackets, by the way, this uniform is what every student in the program wears. So on this side are all the colleges and universities that I've attended. And then on the right side are all the partners that we have currently.
And those are impressive.
Yeah.
Kind of let people know there.
Yeah, so this starts from the first school I went to the last school I went to. So the first school I went to was New York University, and then, I was gracious enough to go to MIT, and then Carnegie Mellon, Duke University School of Computer Science, and then I finished everything off with the PhD in micro and nanotech and artificial intelligence at Stanford University.
That means you know what you're talking about.
Potentially, but nothing is as great as putting this in the minds of young people and getting them connected to the things that I can't even imagine yet, because children are the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for the great work you're doing.
Well,
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank those of you who are watching. Please be sure to follow up with this information. Even after the show's over, you'll be able to go to YouTube and put in the search field WHMB TV 40 and slow it down, pause it, and get this information and apply it to your life. We'll be back in just a bit with the rundown. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. I'm your host, James Jackson.
Co-host, Pastor Wayne Moore.
And I'm your executive producer, Faith McKinney.
Great guest.
Great guest, great rundown here.
Great rundown. And I want to thank our sponsors.
Yeah, Lee Cossock and Crawley, Fervent Care Christian Academy. We want to thank Indianapolis Healthy Start, safe sleep programs going on right now. Make sure you get involved with it. We need people to be a part of it.
Save lives.
Yeah, save lives. And we have Infant Mortality Month, Awareness Month. So make sure you get some information about that as well.
Great couple of guests there, and very impressed with what they had to share.
Yeah, especially with Coach T, talking about the STEM program and how the nation is behind in it, and how he's created a STEMatorium.
Stemnasium. Yes.
Across the city. He has some churches participating, and then we had the Miss Owens here, who's doing some great things in the field of employment.
With the Go Consulting.
Yeah.
Yep.
G-O Consulting. You can look Go
Both of those.
Consulting up
Yeah.
on the internet too.
Yeah.
It's very important. She talked about the Barrier Buster Fund.
Oh, yeah. She has a lot of resources. She consults with different organizations, but she has a lot of resources for people who are looking to, get money or get funds for employment or employers employing people. So, yeah, she's a great resource. And Coach T, amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, did you see all those schools on his arm?
Yeah, and we asked him to let our viewing audience know, and kind of give us the rundown.
Oh, yeah. He's the real deal.
Yeah, he's the real deal.
And he chose Indianapolis, to start that Stemnasium, or to foster it.
A lot of competition. There's a lot of people
18,000
choosing.
people.
A lot of people choosing Indiana.
And then with 16 Tech coming online, the Silicon Valley of the Midwest, they call it, he's needed here.
Yeah.
And we need to get kids started early. As he's starting early as 3 years old. A lot of people think that, after listening to him, that this would be a negative statement. We're just behind in STEM and IPS and charter schools. And I don't know about parochial schools and a lot of private schools, but we're just behind.
Yep. We're going to get caught up.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week.